Hi, team. I'm going to read you chapter 8 of Beloved starting on page 88. Sorry, 87. Just to set up the context for this chapter, you need to remember that Beloved is trying to pull out as many stories of Setha's past, not only from Setha, but also from other characters too. So in this chapter, she's going to focus on Denver, and Denver is going to want to talk to Beloved, tell Beloved stories to bond with her, because remember, Denver is super lonely and she wants company, and she doesn't want Beloved to leave. But Beloved, the relationship is kind of transactional because Beloved is using her just to get intel on Setha. But it's important for us to hear this because um, this is the story that Denver likes about herself so much. But even though there's different motivating factors for the sharing of this story in the chapter, both of the girls are learning things about Setha that they didn't know before, and it's also this idea of a rememory too is happening. That each time Beloved pulls out a memory from one of these characters, Beloved is able to experience the rememory. That's why the idea of the rememory, it was introduced so early in the book. But before we get to the story of Denver telling Beloved about her birth, there is some odd stuff that goes on between Beloved and Denver. Okay, so we're in the present moment on page 87, and Beloved and Denver are going to have a very like sister-like moment that transforms pretty quickly. Okay. Upstairs, Beloved was dancing, a little two-step, two-step, make a new step, slide, slide, and strut on down. Denver sat on the bed smiling and providing the music. She had never seen Beloved this happy. She had seen her pouty lips open wide with the pleasure of sugar or some piece of news Denver gave her. She had felt warm satisfaction radiating from Beloved's skin when she listened to her mother talk about the old days. But gaiety she had never seen. Not 10 minutes had passed since Beloved had fallen backward to the floor, pop-eyed, thrashing, and holding her throat. Now, after a few seconds lying in Denver's bed, she was up and dancing. Where'd you learn to dance? Denver asked her. Nowhere. Look at me do this. Beloved put her fist on her hips and commenced to skip on bare feet. Denver laughed. Now you, come on, said Beloved. You may as well just come on. Her black skirt swayed from side to side. Um, okay, so if you have a good memory, this language that Beloved hears here or uses here, now you come on, said Beloved, you may as well just come on. If you go all the way back to the beginning of the book, when Toni Morrison is describing to us what 124 is all about, and they are talking about how they had tried to exorcise the ghost at one point. So if you turn back to page 4, at like the bottom of that page, there's this memory of Setha and Denver who are trying to call the ghost forward. So it's a paragraph that starts with baby Suggs near the bottom of the page. Baby Suggs died shortly after the brothers left with no interest whatsoever in their leave taking or hers. And right afterwards, Setha and Denver decided to end the persecution by calling forth the ghosts that tried them so. Perhaps a conversation, they thought, an exchange of views or something would help. So they held hands and said, come on, you may as well just come on. The sideboard took a step forward, but nothing else did. Grandma Baby must be stopping it, said Denver. She was 10 and still mad at Baby Suggs for dying. Um, Okay, so Beloved is dropping these little details that she is the ghost that has come back in human form, and this is one example of it. Her using the language that was used in 124, even though she wasn't there, she was only there in her ghostly form. All right, back to page 87. Denver grew ice cold as she rose from the bed. She knew she was twice Beloved's size, but she floated up, cold and light as a snowflake. Beloved took Denver's hand and placed another on Denver's shoulder. They danced then, round and round the tiny room, and it may have been dizziness or feeling light and icy at once that made Denver laugh so hard. A catching laugh that Beloved caught. The two of them, merry as kittens, swung to and fro until exhausted. They sat on the floor. Beloved let her head fall back on the edge of the bed while she found her breath, and Denver saw the tip of the thing that she always saw in its entirety when Beloved undressed to sleep. Looking straight at it, she whispered, Why you call yourself beloved? Beloved closed her eyes. In the dark, my name is Beloved. Denver scooted a little closer. What's it like over there, where you were before? Can you tell me? Dark, said Beloved. I'm small in that place. I'm like this here. She raised her head off the bed, lay down on her side, and curled up. Denver covered her lips with her fingers. Were you cold? Beloved curled tighter and shook her head. Hot. Nothing to breathe down there, no room to move in. You see anybody? Heaps. A lot of people is down there. Some is dead. You see Jesus? Baby Suggs? I don't know. I don't know the names. She sat up. Tell me, how did you get here? I wait. Then I got on the bridge. I stay there in the dark, in the daytime, in the dark, in the daytime. It was a long time. All this time you were on a bridge? No, after, when I got out. What did you come back for? Beloved smiled. To see her face. Ma'am's? Setha? Yes, Setha. Denver felt a little hurt, slighted that she was not the main reason for Beloved's return. Okay, so that page 88, is pretty interesting because, um, again, Beloved is giving all these details that she is the ghost that has come back to life. She talks about how in the dark her name is Beloved. Denver asks her what it was like to be in the afterlife. Beloved does something kind of odd where she gets up off of the bed and she curls up in the fetal position and she starts to tell Denver what it was like to be in the afterlife. Um, and she also makes the afterlife seem like she might be in hell, but then she also, if you remember the information that we went over before reading the previous chapter about the middle passage, she also makes it seem like maybe they're on the middle passage too. Especially when she says hot, nothing to breathe down there, and no room to move in. Um, And then she also says heaps, a lot of people is down there, some is dead. So there's this ambiguous language where death is present, but also this cramped feeling of a lot of people, that can be both the bottom of a ship used to sell enslaved people, or the afterlife, because Denver asks her if she sees Jesus or baby Suggs. Okay, back to the top of page 89. Um, I was on the bridge, said Beloved. You see me on the bridge? No, by the stream, the water back in the woods. Oh, I was in the water. I saw her diamonds down there. I could touch them. What stopped you? She left me behind, by myself, said Beloved. She lifted her eyes to meet Denver's and frowned, perhaps. Perhaps not. The tiny scratches on her forehead may have made it seem so. Denver swallowed. Don't, she said. Don't. You won't leave us, will you? No, never. This is where I am. Suddenly, Denver, who was sitting cross-legged, lurched forward and grabbed Beloved's waist. Don't tell her. Don't let ma'am know who you are. Please, you hear? Don't tell me what to do. Don't you never tell me what to do. So this is where the relationship is going to start to be a little contentious, where Beloved's like, don't tell me what to do, don't control me. And then Denver's going to say, but I'm on your side, Beloved. She is the one. She is the one I need. You can go, but she is the one I have to have. Her eyes stretched to the limit, black as the all-night sky. Okay, so again, weird business where she's like, I have to have Setha. She's the one I need. And then she looks off into the distance, um, which is kind of creepy. Like lying in fetal position, then getting up, and then looking off into the distance. And this is Denver. I didn't do anything to you. I never hurt you. I never hurt anybody, said Denver. Me either. Me either. What are you gonna do? Stay here? I belong here. I belong here too. Then stay. But don't never tell me what to do. Don't never do that. We were dancing. Just a minute ago, we were dancing. Let's. I don't want to. Beloved got up and lay down on the bed. Their quietness boomed about on the walls like birds in panic. I love that image. A room being so quiet that it boomed about on the walls like birds in panic. Okay, so all that to say, a very awkward, silent pause between these two. Tell me, or finally Denver's breath steadied against the threat of an unbearable loss. Tell me, Beloved said. Tell me how Setha made you in the boat. She never told me all of it, said Denver. Tell me. Denver climbed up on the bed and folded her arms under her apron. She had not been in the tree room once since Beloved sat on their stump after the carnival and had not remembered that she hadn't gone there until this very desperate moment. Nothing was out there that the sister girl did not provide in abundance. A racing heart, dreaminess, society, danger, beauty. She swallowed twice to prepare for the telling, to construct out of the strings she had heard all of her life a net to hold beloved. She had good hands, she said. The white girl, she said, had thin little arms with good hands. She saw that right away, she said. Hair enough for 5 heads and good hands, she said. I guess the hands made her think that she could do it, get us both across the river. But the mouth is what kept her from being scared. She said there ain't nothing to go by with white people. You don't know how they'll jump, say one thing, do another. But if you looked at the mouth, sometimes you could tell by that. She said this girl talked like a storm, but there wasn't no meanness around her mouth. She took Ma'am to that lean-to and rubbed her feet for her. So that was one thing, and Ma'am believed she wasn't going to turn her over. You could get money if you turned a runaway over, and she wasn't sure this girl Amy didn't need money more than anything, especially since all she talked about was getting hold of some velvet. What's velvet? It's a cloth, kind of deep and soft. Go ahead. Anyway, she rubbed Man's feet back to life and she cried. She said from how it hurt, but it made her think she could make it on her own over to where baby Suggs was. And who is that? I just said my grandmother. Is that Setha's mother? No, my father's mother. Go ahead. Okay, so as Denver is telling the story, Beloved is kind of like thinking about the family tree, and she's getting clarification of who is who. That's where the others was. My brothers and the baby girl. And Denver has this like long pause in between because Denver knows that the baby girl is Beloved, but Denver isn't gonna say that to Beloved. She sent them on before to wait for her at Grandma Baby's. So she had to put up with everything to get there, and this here girl Amy helped. Denver stopped and sighed. This is the part of the story she loved. She was coming to it now, and she loved it because it was all about herself. But she hated it too because it made her feel like a bill who was owing somewhere, and she, Denver, had to pay it. But who she owed or what to pay it with eluded her. Now, watching Beloved's alert and hungry face, how she took in every word, asking questions about the color of things and their size, her downright craving to know, Denver began to see what she was saying, and not just to hear it. There's this 19-year-old slave girl, a year older than herself, walking through the dark woods to get to her children who are far away. She is tired, scared maybe, and maybe even lost. Most of all, she is by herself, and inside her is another baby she has to think about too. Behind her, dogs perhaps, guns probably, and certainly mossy teeth. She's not so afraid at night because she is the color of it. But in the day, every sound is a shot or a tracker's quiet step. Okay. Again, Toni Morrison, what a genius. She's talking about this power of storytelling here, that when Denver has thought about the story before to herself, Denver has made it all about herself. But as Denver starts to tell the story to Beloved, she starts to have this deeper empathy towards her mom. Because Denver is like not just hearing the story like she has before, but she's going to experience the rememory of her own birth. All right, Denver was seeing it now and feeling it through Beloved. Okay, and there we go. Feeling how it must have felt to her mother, seeing how it must have looked. And the more fine points she made, the more detail she provided, the more Beloved liked it. So she anticipated the questions by giving blood to the scraps her mother and grandmother had told her. In a heartbeat, the monologue became, in fact, a duet as they lay down together. Denver nursing Beloved's interest like a lover whose pleasure was to overfeed the loved. The dark quilt with two orange patches was there with them because Beloved wanted it near her when she slept. It was smelling like grass and feeling like hands, the unrested hands of busy women, dry, warm, prickly. Denver spoke, Beloved listened, and the two did the best they could to create what really happened, how it really was, and something only Setha knew because she alone had the mind for it and the time afterward to shape it. The quality of Amy's voice, her breath like burning wood. The quick change weather in those hills, cool at night, hot in the day, sudden fog. How recklessly she behaved with this white girl, a recklessness born of desperation and encouraged by Amy's fugitive eyes and her tender-hearted mouth. Okay, so have you ever had a conversation with someone and you are more deeply invested in the conversation because they listen really well. That's how Beloved and Denver are feeling in this moment because Beloved is so interested in all of the details of the story that she's asking all of these questions for clarification. And then Denver is happy to give it to her because she feels closer to not only Beloved, but also her mom through telling this story. All right, so now we're in the remembering, and you can tell by that gap in the page on page 92. You ain't got no business walking around these hills, miss. Look at here who's talking. I got more business here than you got. They catch you, they cut your head off. Ain't nobody after me, but I know somebody after you. Amy pressed her fingers into the soles of the slave woman's feet. Whose baby that? Setha did not answer. This is also super interesting too, because if you were to read those first couple of exchanges, you can't tell who is who. Because remember, both Amy and Setha are escaping something. And I think Toni Morrison is trying to make a comment about the language that's being used and how similar the language actually is. That even though Amy is a white woman and Setha is a black woman, um, they have similar ways that they speak. Okay, Setha did not answer. You don't even know. Come here, Jesus. Amy sighed and shook her head. Hurt? A touch. Good for you. More it hurt, better it is. Can't nothing heal without pain, you know. What are you wiggling for? Okay, so like all these things that Amy is saying, they are very applicable or apropos to Setha's situation. And that in order for Setha to heal from her really traumatic past, it's going to be super painful for her to have to live through the memories. And it's also going to be painful for the people around her. Setha raised up on her elbows, lying on her back so long and raised a ruckus between her shoulder blades. The fire in her feet and the fire on her back made her sweat. My back hurt me, she said. Your back? Gal, you a mess. Turn over here and let me see. Okay, because remember that Setha was whipped. Um, and Amy Denver hasn't noticed this yet. In an effort so great it made her sick to her stomach, Setha turned onto her right side. Amy unfastened the back of her dress and said, Come here, Jesus, when she saw. Setha guessed it must be bad because after that call to Jesus, Amy didn't speak for a while. In the silence of an Amy struck dumb for a change, Setha felt the fingers of those good hands lightly touch her back. She could hear her breathing, but still the white girl said nothing. Setha could not move. She couldn't lie on her stomach or her back, and to keep on her side meant pressure on her screaming feet. Amy spoke at last in her dreamwalker's voice. It's a tree, Lou, a chokecherry tree. See, here's the trunk. It's red and split wide open, full of sap. And this here's the parting for the branches. You got a mighty lot of branches. Leaves too look like it. And darn if these ain't blossoms, tiny little cherry blossoms, just as white. Your back got a whole tree on it, in bloom. What God have in mind, I wonder. I had me some whippings, but I don't remember nothing like this. Mr. Buddy had a right evil hand, too. Whip you for looking at him straight. Sure would. I looked right at him one time, and he hauled off and threw the poker at me. Guess he knew what I was a thinking. Um, okay, so the way that Amy Denver is talking about Setha's um injury um is like in a euphemism because she's calling it this chokecherry tree and she's talking about the white part look like little blossoms. But you all, as Health Academy students, you know that if there is white and red, that it has not only broken through the first layer of the skin, but the whipping was so bad that it broke through several layers of tissue, for that white to show up. Um, Okay. Setha groaned and Amy cut her reverie short. Oh yeah, and there's this division that's happening where um Amy is recognizing like I have been physically abused at times, but never anything like what she's seeing on Setha. Setha groaned and Amy cut her reverie short, long enough to shift Setha's feet so the weight resting on leaf covered stones was above the ankles. That better? Lord, what a way to die. You gonna die in here, you know. Ain't no way out of it. Thank your maker I come along so you's gonna have to die outside in them weeds. Snake come along, he'd bite you. Bear eat you up. Maybe you should have stayed where you was, Lou. I can see by your back why you didn't. Ha ha. Whoever planted that tree beat Mr. Buddy by a mile. Glad I ain't you. Well, spider webs is about all I can do for you. What's in here ain't enough. I'll look outside. Could use moss, but sometimes bugs and things is in it. Maybe I ought to break them blossoms open, get that pus to running, you think? Wonder what God had in mind. You must have did something. Don't run off nowhere now. Okay, so like kind of funny for Amy to say that because Setha literally cannot run. Um, but Amy is trying to think of a way to put bandages on Setha's back, and she's talking through her options. And spider webs is one of her options because it's like gauzy. And then she also thinks about using moss, but she doesn't want any bugs to get into Setha's wounds. Setha could hear her humming away in the bushes as she hunted spider webs. A humming she concentrated on because as soon as Amy ducked out, the baby began to stretch. Good question, she was thinking. What did he have in mind? Amy had left the back of Setha's dress open, and now a tail of wind hit it, taking the pain down a step, a relief that let her feel the lesser pain of her sore tongue. Amy returned with two palmfuls of web, which she cleaned of prey, and then draped on Setha's back, saying it was like stringing a tree for Christmas. We got an old girl come by our place. She don't know nothing. So stuff for Mrs. Buddy. Real fine lace, but can't barely stick two words together. She don't know nothing. Just like you. You don't know a thing. End up dead, that's what. Not me. I'm gonna get to Boston and get myself some velvet. Carmine. You don't even know about that, do you? Now you never will. Bet you never even sleep with the sun on your face. I did it a couple times. Most time I'm feeding stock before light and don't get to sleep till way after dark comes. But I was in the back of a wagon once and fell asleep. Sleeping with the sun on your face is the best old feeling. 2 times I did it. Once when I was little. Didn't nobody bother me then. Next time in back of the wagon. It happened again and doggone if the chickens didn't get loose. Mr. Buddy whipped my tail. Kentucky ain't no good place to be in. Boston's the place to be in. That's where my mother was before she was give to Mr. Buddy. Joe Nathan said Mr. Buddy is my daddy, but I don't believe that. You? Um, Okay, so Toni Morrison is addressing a lot of history here, where one, she's talking about this ignorance in Amy Denver that we kind of laughed at in class, but we also know that so many enslaved people who were brought here to the United States from Africa, they didn't speak English. And so Amy Denver thinks that anyone who can't, Amy describes it as string two words together, that they're dumb. But it could be the fact that they just don't speak English. And then there's all this like sexual violence that has been kind of coursing throughout the book. That's also addressed here because she said that Joe Nathan said Mr. Buddy is my daddy, but I don't believe that. You, to maybe suggest that the person who owned Amy Denver's mom might have sexually assaulted her, and that's how Amy came about. Setha told her she didn't believe Mr. Buddy was her daddy. You know your daddy, do you? No, said Setha. Neither me. All I know is it ain't him. She stood up then, having finished her repair work and weaving about the lean-to, her slow-moving eyes pale in the sun that lit her hair. She sang, when the busy day is done, and my weary little one rocketh gently to and fro, when the night winds softly blow, and the crickets in the glen chirp and chirp and chirp again, whereupon the haunted green fairies dance around their queen. Then from yonder misty skies cometh Lady Button Eyes. Suddenly she stopped weaving and rocking and sat down, her skinny arms wrapped around her knees, her good hands cupping her elbows. Her slow-moving eyes stopped and peered into the dirt at her feet. That's my mama's song. She taught me it. Through the muck and mist and gloam, to our quiet, cozy home, where to singing sweet and low, rocks the cradle to and fro, where the clock's dull monotone telleth of the day that's done, where the moonbeams hover over, playthings sleep on the floor, where my weary one lies, cometh Lady Button Eyes. Lays she her hands upon my dearie little one, and those white hands overspread, like a veil the curly head, seem to fondle and caress every little silken tress. Then she smooths the eyelids down over those two eyes of brown. In such soothing, tender wise, cometh Lady Button Eyes. Amy sat quietly after her song, then repeated the last line before she stood, left the lean-to and walked off a little ways to lean against a young ash. When she came back, the sun was in the valley below, and they were above it in blue Kentucky light. You ain't dead yet, Lou? Lou, not yet. Make you a bet. You make it through the night, you make it all the way. Amy rearranged the leaves for comfort and knelt down to massage the swollen feet again. Give these one more real good rub, she said. When Setha sucked air through her teeth, she said, Shut up! You gotta keep your mouth shut. Careful of her tongue, Setha bit down on her lips and let the good hands go to work to the tune of So Bees Sing Soft and Bees Sing Low. Afterward, Amy moved to the other side of the lean-to, where, seated, she lowered her head toward her shoulder and braided her hair, saying, Don't up and die on me in the night, you hear? I don't want to see your ugly face hankering over me. If you do die, just go on off somewhere where I can't see you. Here? I hear, Setha. I'll do what I can, miss. Setha never expected to see another thing in the world. So when she felt toes prodding her hip, it took a while to come out of a sleep she thought was death. She sat up, stiff and shivery, while Amy looked in her juicy back. Looks like the devil, said Amy. But you made it through. Come down here, Jesus. Lou made it through. That's because of me. I'm good at sick things. Can you walk? You think? I have to let my water some kind of way. Let me see you walk on him. It was not good, but it was possible, so Setha limped, holding on first to Amy, then to a sapling. Was me did it. I'm good at sick things, ain't I? Yeah, said Setha. You good. We gotta get off this here hill. Come on. I'll take you down to the river. That ought to suit you. Me, I'm going to the pike. Take me straight to Boston. What's that all over your dress? Milk? You one mess. Setha looked down at her stomach and touched it. The baby was dead. She had not died in the night, but the baby had. If that was the case, then there was no stopping now. She would get that milk to her baby girl if she had to swim. Ain't you hungry? Amy asked her. I ain't nothing but in a hurry, miss. Whoa, slow down. Want some shoes? Say what? I figured how, said Amy. And so she had. She tore two pieces from Setha's shawl, filled them with leaves, and tied them over her feet, chattering all the while. How old are you, Lou? I've been bleeding for 4 years, but I ain't having nobody's baby. Won't catch me sweating milk, 'cause I know, said Setha, you going to Boston. At noon they saw it, and when they were near enough to hear it, by late afternoon they could drink from it if they wanted to. 4 stars were visible by the time they found not a riverboat to stow Setha away on, or a ferryman willing to take on a fugitive passenger. Nothing like that, but a whole boat to steal. It had one oar, lots of holes, and 2 bird nests. There you go, Lou. Jesus is looking at you. Setha was looking at 1 mile of dark water, which had to have to be split with one oar in a useless boat against a current dedicated to the Mississippi hundreds of miles away. It looked like home to her, and the baby, not dead in the least, must have thought so too. As soon as Setha got close to the river, her own water broke loose to join it. The break, followed by the redundant announcement of labor, arched her back. Okay, so Setha and Amy have reached the river, and Setha's water breaks. What are you doing that for? Asked Amy. Ain't you got a brain in your head? Stop that right now. I said stop it, Lou. You the dumbest thing on this here earth. Lou! Lou! Setha couldn't think of anywhere to go but in. She waited for the sweet beat that followed the blast of pain. On her knees again, she crawled into the boat. It waddled under her, and she had just enough time to brace her leaf-bag feet on the bench when another rip took her breath away. Panting under 4 summer stars, she threw her legs over the sides because here come the head, as Amy informed her, as though she did not know it, as though the rip was a breakup of walnut logs in the sky, or of lightning's jagged tear through a leather sky. Okay. Um, Toni Morrison is such a genius. All this description of Setha giving birth sounds mighty painful. But then she uses all of this natural language and phenomenon to show how important and painful motherhood is. Um, it was struck, face up and drowning in its mother's blood. Amy stopped begging Jesus and began to curse his daddy. Push! Screamed Amy. Pull! Whispered Setha, and the strong hands went to work a fourth time. None too soon, for river water, seeping through any hole it chose, was spreading over Setha's hips. She reached one arm back and grabbed the rope while Amy fairly clawed at the head. When a foot rose from the riverbed and kicked the bottom of the boat in Setha's behind, she knew it was done and permitted herself a short faint. Coming to, she heard no cries, just Amy's encouraging coos. Nothing happened for so long they both believed they had lost it. Setha arched suddenly and the afterbirth shot out. Then the baby whimpered and Setha looked. 20 inches of cord hung from its belly, and it trembled in the cooling evening air. Amy wrapped her skirt around it, and the wet, sticky women clambered ashore to see what indeed God had in mind. Okay, crazy, right? So Setha has this baby in the river, kind of like the river serving as an underwater birth. And Amy serves as the person who helps pull the baby out of Setha, coaching her through. Okay, spores of blue fern growing in the hollows along the riverbank float toward the water in silver blue lines, hard to see unless you are in or near them, but lying right at the river's edge when the sunshots are low and drained. Often they are mistook for insects, but they are seeds in which the whole generation sleeps confident of a future. And for a moment it is easy to believe each one has one, will become all of what is contained in the spore, will live out its days as planned. This moment of certainty lasts no longer than that, longer perhaps than the sport itself. On a riverbank in the cool of a summer evening, two women struggled under a shower of silvery blue. They never expected to see each other again in this world, and at the moment couldn't care less. But there on a summer night, surrounded by blue fern, they did something together appropriately and well. A Pate Roller Ross passing would have sniggered to see two throwaway people, two lawless outlaws, a slave and a barefoot white woman with unpenned hair, wrapping a 10-minute-old baby in rags they wore. But no pate roller came and no preacher. The water sucked and swallowed itself beneath them. There was nothing to disturb them at their work, so they did it appropriately and well. Twilight came on, and Amy said she had to go, and she wouldn't be caught dead in daylight on a busy river with a runaway. After rinsing her hands and face in the river, she stood and looked down at the baby wrapped and tied to Setha's chest. She's never gonna know who I am. You gonna tell her? Who brought her into this here world? She lifted her chin, looked off into the place where the sun used to be. You better tell her, you hear? Say, Miss Amy Denver, of Boston. Setha felt herself falling into a sleep she knew would be deep. On the lip of it, just before going under, she thought, That's pretty. Denver. Real pretty.